Well, there's Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, Doug Drexler was on Observations the other day, and it was fairly fabulous. He basically was supposed to be promoting his documentary about his life, and he just talked about his life the whole time. In the last 2 minutes, they actually addressed that they've got a Kickstarter to make this documentary, and this bitch lived the dream. He just stumbled his way in and through the Hollywood system. He worked. I didn't know he worked on Dick Tracy. He did the makeup applications and so forth, and won an Oscar. I had no idea. And we all know he designed the Enterprise, but I didn't realize he worked on Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, and yeah, just talking him going over the good old early days of fandom where there were fanzines and Paramount didn't care about Star Trek or the IP or anything, and people were just creating fan fiction and their own merchandise and selling it, and Lincoln Enterprises and that, and dealing with them, and they had a store, and one day the people from Gold Key came in all proud of the fact that they were doing the Star Trek comic, and they basically trashed them for how bad it was on accuracy. Now I actually love the Gold Key comics because they're so just off the wall, and sometimes I find they really engage my imagination. A lot of the sort of random Star Trek unofficial sort of merchandise and comics back in the day, they just are very off the wall, and there's something about that imagination, and that because a lot of Star Trek for fans back in the day was imagining and remembering, because you didn't have the ability to watch the episodes again. Once they went off TV, it's like a show died. And it was a while before we had video, and even when we had video, you still had to have it on TV to tape if it wasn't available to sell. So there was a real limit of it was really hard to have Star Trek back in the day until retail started selling videos and that, and Star Trek was one of the first shows that had that in the 80s. But we didn't really have access to many of those episodes in Australia. It wasn't really until the 90s, where there were a lot of knockoff videos in the early 90s that were bad quality, and then 92, 93 we started to get Time Life Video and official video releases in the late 90s and that. But just talking about that whole era, and talking about getting on set to see Star Trek the Motion Picture being filmed, he literally just called up Bob Justman and talked his way into a job on Next Generation. Just quite a lot of remarkable stuff, and I was quite jealous. I really enjoyed hearing the stories, but I was quite jealous, and I wish I could have done something like that. But not only was I born too late, but I was born in the wrong country, so I didn't really have a chance to have anything to do with Star Trek. I mean, not that they've produced Star Trek in 20 years anyway, but so yeah, I really wish I could have been around in the 70s, and I could have just gone to Hollywood and worked on the effects for the motion picture or something like that. That would be the dream. But obviously I was born too late and missed out on all that. But it was fun to hear someone else talk about it and appreciate it. He actually appreciates that he was involved in all this stuff. And like he said, if I had to choose between working on Dick Tracy and winning an Oscar, or working on Star Trek, because he left what he was doing in Hollywood to basically become literally an assistant on Star Trek, because they're like, oh, he's like, can I have a job on the the production team? I can't remember exactly what team he mentioned. And he said, well, we're all crewed up. I mean, we might have an assistant role. And he's like, I'll take that. And you're an Oscar winning, but he did it. And they thought it was crazy, but he did it, and it was worth it. He eventually designed an Enterprise. I mean, he went from looking at the Enterprise and looking at the blueprints and stuff like that in the 70s to designing one in the noughties. So he's pretty much a legend. And the documentary is called, I think it's called Trek Star, and there's a Kickstarter thing for it, which I'd love to contribute to, but I don't have the budget for contributing to Kickstarter things. But it looks good. I hope they make it. If you want to help him out by donating on my behalf, because I can't, that'd be great. But yeah, I just loved it. It was just, I want more stories about the early days of Star Trek before these people are gone. I mean, Bojo Tremble's still around. A lot of people have been interviewed, but mostly for the studios, for special features and documentaries, not sort of, I haven't seen a lot of long form sort of podcasts, people just telling their story with no sort of, time frame and commercial break sort of things. I'd like to see some of that before all these people are gone. And there's some people that are getting this done, like the Enterprise guys, Connor Trinner and Dominic Keating, who I don't like. They've been interviewing a few people. They did Brandon Braga and that, who commented on, the current state of Star Trek, which is all very interesting. But either way, this was just wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and I really would like to see the documentary. And it's not just his story, it's also just the story of fandom and how fandom kept Star Trek and shows like that alive, and just a way it all works differently from how it works now. But yeah, hopefully they make it. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.